Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our beloved Ranga. We are continuing in the chapter The Evolutionary Process, Ascent and Integration, and we're on page 750, beginning with the last paragraph, The Spiritual Man. And I believe we did the summary last week of that.
So, we have read up to the 23rd paragraph, and I'll summarize it for you now so that we get the continuity. So, Srimad is saying that there has been an evolution which we have seen and which we are seeing from matter to life to mind. But the evolution need not stop there, it has to go beyond, because we are still very imperfect. The human nature is imperfect, okay? We are in ignorance. We have to struggle to know, to have knowledge. So what he said in the previous one, the only way man can exceed himself is by spiritualizing himself. Spiritual life implies living deep within in the intraconscient or living above in the superconscient, but definitely not in the outer spiritual superficial nature. Which is the outer spiritual superficial nature? Your body, mind, life. Okay. Now, it is true that even the vital man and the mental man have made huge progress. The vital man and the mental man have taken huge strides and changed earthly life dramatically from the animal. They can expand horizontally, okay, but they cannot exceed their outer nature. What Srimad is saying is that we have made a lot of progress, but progress only in the vital and the mental field, not above. The animal cannot make a progress horizontally, but man can do that, and he has done that. But that's not enough. You have to go above your limitations, you have to go above into the higher regions, or you have to go inside yourself. The vital and the mental man have taken huge strides and changed earthly life dramatically from the animal. We can now travel faster, we can hear people also from very great distances. All these things the animal could not do. They can expand horizontally, but they cannot exceed outer nature. They can improve, enlarge their activities, but it would be a growth of egoistic life, not a spiritual life. This growth could produce the Nietzschean Superman. But what is needed is a supramental Superman. What Srimad means is, we have increased quantitatively. If I could go from here to Chennai in 3 days' time on a bullock cart, now I can go in 3 hours. If I needed to go to America, it would take me 1 month by boat. But now I can do it in 8 hours. So, horizontal quantitative improvement, but not qualitative improvement. That's what is meant. Okay. So, the Nietzschean Superman is the quantitative improvement. What you are, you can be better in that same field. So, this growth could produce the Nietzschean Superman, but what is needed is a supramental Superman. Qualitative change. This means a qualitative transformation, not a quantitative one. For this to happen, spiritualization is essential. What is meant by spiritualization? This means living within in the subliminal being, quite clearly separated from the outer nature of body, life and mind. Only then can the spiritual, egoless, cosmic Superman take birth. This is what he has said. So now, what is the spiritual man? We'll read that. The spiritual man is the sign of this new evolution, this new and higher endeavor of nature. But this evolution differs from the past process of the evolutionary energy in two respects. It is conducted by conscious effort of the human mind, and it is not confined to a conscious progression of the surface nature, but is accompanied by an attempt to break the walls of the ignorance and extend ourselves inward into the secret principle of our present being, and outward into cosmic being, as well as upward towards a higher principle. Now let's see what he means by all these things. So first of all, what's the difference between a spiritual man and a normal man? The spiritual man has powers which the normal man does not have. He will be able to see subtle things. He will be able to solve problems more easily because he can see subtler realities. He will be able to see, sitting here, he can see at a distance, all sorts of other things. His consciousness will not permit him to make errors. It will not indulge in acts which are of animal nature. He will be in control of his vital and his mind. This is what the spiritual man is. And he is a sign of the new evolution. The difference between a spiritual man and a mental man or normal man is as much or even more than the difference between man and the animal. The difference is qualitatively so different. Now, he is saying, but this evolution differs from the past process of the evolutionary energy in two ways. It is conducted by a conscious effort of the human mind. So, before the human mind came in, it was the animal and the plants which were only obeying their nature's commands. Nature is going at a certain speed, very slow speed, and it is just obeying those commands. But now, man can consciously create his own progress, which the animal could not do. How does he do that? By looking at his own limitations and wanting to cross them, and he is capable of doing that. So he can go beyond his own limitations. The animal does not even understand its own limitations.
One time you spoke of the intraconscient, subliminal,
Yes.
and said that the psychic being could make mistakes.
The psychic being does not make mistakes.
Does not.
Yeah. But there is a limitation. Knowledge may not be there.
Okay.
It can distinguish between falsehood and truth. It will never make a mistake there. The psychic being understands the wrong movement immediately and corrects it. But there is a limitation of knowledge. Okay, so that's the difference between the, you spoke of the intraconscient. The intraconscient is when you go into yourself, you come to a subtler mind, subtler vital, and a subtler body. But if you go even more deep, then you have the psychic being deep behind the, what we call the inner being. The inner being is the inner mind, which is much more powerful than your normal mind. The inner vital is much more powerful than the outer vital, and the physical also, you have got limitations in the physical. But in the subtle physical, no limitations. There are examples of people who have gone into the subtler fields, and what happens? Suddenly, your sight increases tenfold. Your sight. The colors become 10 times brighter. You start seeing subtle things, which you can't do when you are in the physical body. So, the inner being is something far superior to the outer being, but the psychic being is deep inside. The inner being can make mistakes, but not the psychic. The psychic can't. But there is limitation. So now man can evolve himself. He can correct his own mistakes and go to a higher level of consciousness. This evolution by conscious effort of the human mind, and it is not confined to a conscious progression of the surface nature. So what does Srila mean by surface nature? As I said, quantitative improvement. It's not only quantitative improvement, it's a qualitative change that can happen. But it's accompanied by an attempt to break the walls of the ignorance. Now, what are the break the walls of the ignorance? I don't know my inner reality. So, there is a wall separating me from my inner being, and there is a wall separating me from the outside world. I don't know your thoughts, I don't know your feelings, I don't know your intentions, but that wall can be broken. In the spiritual field, that breaks up. So, I can become conscious of what is going on around me, I can become conscious of what is going on inside me and inside others, but I can also become conscious of those things which are to come, okay, the future. All these things are the spiritualization of the being. It is accompanied by an attempt to break the walls of the ignorance and extend ourselves inward into the secret principle of our present being, which is the psychic being, and outward into cosmic being, as well as upwards towards a higher principle. So, when you go into yourself, you go into the intraconscient, and you can know your own being, what you really are. You are not the body, mind, life, you are actually the spirit within inside. When you go outwards, you break the outward wall, your ego breaks down, and you can sense your unity with everybody around you. Okay? And if you go up, you get knowledge which is not normally available to man. You can get knowledge, you can get love, you can get power, which are not available at this level. Up till now, what nature has achieved was an enlarging of the bounds of our surface knowledge ignorance. So, I did not know so many things. I did not know how to go into space. Now I know how to go into space. I did not know how to cure my body. Now I know how to cure my body. That is the bounds of our surface nature, surface knowledge ignorance. What is attempted in the spiritual endeavor is to abolish the ignorance itself, to go inwards and discover the soul, and to become united in consciousness with God and with all existence. So, united with the soul, inwards, the individual. United in consciousness with God, the transcendent. United with all existence, the cosmic. So, again and again he comes back to that Sat, Chit, Ananda, the three levels, the transcendent, the cosmic, and the individual. This is the final aim of the mental stage of evolutionary nature in man. It is the initial step towards a radical transformation of the ignorance into knowledge. The spiritual change begins by an influence of the inner being and the higher spiritual mind. The higher spiritual mind, what Srimad calls the higher mind, is not the logical mind and not the reason. You go above that. Okay? The power increases tenfold. Yeah, a higher spiritual mind, an action felt and accepted on the surface. You start becoming aware that your consciousness has gone up and all the wonders of the higher mind are available to you on the surface. But this by itself can lead only to an illumined mental idealism or to the growth of a religious mind, a religious temperament, and some devotion in the heart and piety in the conduct. It's a first approach of mind to spirit, but it cannot make a radical change. More has to be done. We have to live deeper within. We have to exceed our present consciousness and surpass our present status of nature. So what I mean by that is, when you have an experience, suppose your consciousness rises and you get knowledge. Now you know what is right and what is wrong, but you are not able to apply it in life. That is what he means by more has to be done. You remain, suppose you have desires and you have certain ideas, those will remain in the lower, but now you can see that those are wrong, but you may not have the power to change that. The power to change that comes at a higher level.
Must it come from mother?
Pardon?
Must it come from the mother?
It depends. If you don't know the mother, then higher prakriti. Okay? Mother is a representative for us of that consciousness. For others, it may not be the mother, it may be the universal mother. In Christianity, it is the
Virgin Mary.
Yeah, the Virgin Mother. So there are for the Tantrics it is something else, it is a Shakti aspect. So, so this is what Srinath is saying, that spiritualization is certainly far superior to the normal mind. But it's not enough, because you don't have the power to change your nature. The nature does not. And that's the reason why in India until now, rising to the higher level of consciousness, level 2 spiritual plane, is enough. You get rid of your body, mind, life is a falsehood, it will disappear in no time at all. You have reached spiritual consciousness, and that's enough. But you don't have the power to change your nature. Again we come back to that famous poem of Sri Aurobindo, the self. Okay. So typically that's what Sri Aurobindo is talking about here. Your consciousness is improved, but the lower remains dark. It's like a glass of water, clean water, into which you put a little bit of dirt. Okay? The dirt will settle at the bottom, and the higher parts are clear. You are rising to the higher parts, but the dirt at the bottom remains the same. You can't change that. But if you go to a higher level, you have the power to change even that. The darkness also can be changed. So I read the summary of what he is saying here. With the advent of the spiritual man, the evolution has reached an important turning point in its advancing march. It is new and differs from the past in two ways. First, the evolution has now become conscious. It is no longer the slow mechanical movement of somnolent nature. The human mind takes up the evolution in a conscious, purposeful effort. So when we say, you have to understand the phrase, evolution becomes conscious, means man is now conscious that he has to go to a higher level of consciousness. The animal was not capable of that. So man can now participate and create his own progress. That is what is meant by evolution has become conscious. Okay. Secondly, the evolution is not restricted to the surface, where ignorance reigns in spite of progress. I may be able to go faster, I may be able to do things much quicker, I may be able to jump more, I may be able to do all sorts of things better. But that's only a quantitative improvement, not a qualitative improvement. Okay, so the rise in consciousness tears down walls, the inner wall and the outer wall, breaks inwards into inner secrecies, expands outwards into cosmic consciousness, rises upwards into the self. It abolishes ignorance and establishes knowledge of soul, universe and God. But even this is not enough. It contacts the soul within. It reaches the self above. But this may not change outer nature. Your outer nature remains the same. He is not necessarily talking only of body. Even the vital remains unchanged. The mind also has still, it is illumined, but it has still got a little bit of darkness in it. Ignorance is still there. It may not change outer nature. It may lead to an illumined mind. It may create a religious tendency. It may generate love for God, increase piety in outer nature, but it does not transform totally. Much more has to be done. So spiritual life is not enough. Until now it was thought that spiritual life is enough. Liberation is enough, but not for Sri Aurobindo. He wants to go beyond. There were some people who had come the other day and they were asking, how is Sri Aurobindo's philosophy and yoga different from the others? The difference is exactly this, that he is going beyond the established truths at present. He is going far beyond. He is saying we have to change outer nature also, and for that you have to go to the third level, which the ancient Indian philosophy and spirituality have not very clearly spelt out. The practical aspect has not been done. They have spoken about the higher planes, and the evolution also has been spoken of in brief, but not in detail. But Sri Aurobindo has gone into great detail. He has gone beyond what was achieved at present. He speaks of the supramentalization. So that's what he's saying in this para. We go to the next para. It is evident that if we can live within, it is evident that if we can live thus deeper within and put out steadily the inner forces into the outer instrumentation, or raise ourselves to dwell on higher and wider levels and bring their powers to bear on physical existence, not merely receive influences descending from them, which is all we can do now, there could begin a heightening of our force of conscious being so as to create a new principle of consciousness, a new range of activities, new values for all things, a widening of our consciousness and life, a taking up and transformation of the lower grades of our existence. In brief, the whole evolutionary process by which the spirit in nature creates a higher type of being. Huge one sentence with so many lines. Okay, so we'll go a little and see what he's saying. It is evident that if we can live thus deeper within, so what does that mean? Deeper within. The inner is more real to me than the outer. If I have realized my psychic being, I see things in a totally different way. I see oneness of things. I see beauty which I never saw before. I see love everywhere. I see even attraction to everything in the world. All these things, when you go into yourself, you see, which you don't normally see. And he's saying, raise ourselves to dwell on higher and wider levels. So higher and wider levels. Higher, you get knowledge which you don't get knowledge at this level. Wider level is the cosmic consciousness. You become one with everybody else. So these things become possible. And bring their powers to bear on physical existence, not merely receive influences descending from them. Normally when you are a spiritual person, you receive those forces from above, but you are not able to use them. You know the truth, but you are not able to convert it into your actions or your thoughts. That's what Swami is saying. Not merely receive influences descending from them, which is all we can do now. We can only receive the truths. There could begin a heightening of our force of conscious being so as to create a new principle of consciousness. It becomes totally new. As new as man is new to the animal, that much. A new range of activities. There you are. So, new range of activities. Those things which you could not do earlier, now you can do. Okay, looking into the future. Okay, all these things. New values for all things, a widening of our consciousness and life, a taking up and transformation of the lower grades of our existence. Which are the lower grades? Your body, your vital and your mind, all are lower grades. You can change them. Okay. In brief, the whole evolutionary process by which the spirit in nature creates a higher type of being. Now note the word spirit in nature. There is a spirit which is not in nature. There is a spirit which is above, which is spiritual planes of consciousness. But when Siddhartha is talking of spirit in nature, it is the divine presence hiding behind all things in the physical world.
And he capitalizes both words.
Yes, that's right. Spirit in nature. He is here, but he has to become effective. He is hiding, he is not interfering in other matters. Creates a higher type of being. Each step could mean a pace, however distant from the goal, or a close approach leading to a higher and more divine being, a larger and more divine force and consciousness, knowledge, will, sense of existence, and delight of existence. So what would change? Your consciousness would change, your force would change, your knowledge would change, your will change, and your sense of existence, what are you existing for, that will change. Delight in existence will change. There could be an initial unfolding towards a divine life. And what is the divine life? No ignorance, no ego, no desires, no attachments, nothing. That's the divine life. All religion, all occult knowledge, all supernormal, as opposed to abnormal. Now, that's interesting. So, we are speaking about supernormal and abnormal. The supernormal is auspicious. The abnormal is negative. Okay? It is moving away from the normality, but which is morbid. It is not healthy. Okay, so that is the abnormal. Psychological experience, all yoga, all psychic experience and discipline are the signposts and directions pointing us upon that road of progress of the occult self-finding, self-unfolding spirit. So, when we speak of evolution, what is meant by evolution? What is meant by going upwards? The Swami is saying, whatever religion is teaching you, okay, whatever occult knowledge is teaching you, whatever supernormal experiences show you, higher capacities, that is the upward evolution. So, again we read the summary of what he is saying here. If man could live within and above, note, both are necessary, within and above. Within gives you love and devotion, above gives you knowledge. Not identifying himself with outer nature of body-mind life. When you are in a spiritual consciousness, you know that your body-mind life is not you. They are only instruments given to you for action in the physical world. You are pure consciousness. Okay. He could pour these deeper and higher powers into his surface nature and actively change the lower nature of ignorance and not merely receive passively these spiritual splendors. What are they? Knowledge, power, love. These are the spiritual splendors which you can experience when you go up, but now you have to become capable of bringing them down into your normal life and not only know of them but use them in life. Okay, so he could be capable of becoming a new being, however distant from the final goal. He could initiate the start of a divine life upon earth. And what are the signs? The signs of the coming change are there already in religion, occult knowledge, supernormal psychological experience, not abnormal experience, which is morbid. Okay? That the supernormal is auspicious and benevolent and positive, not morbid. Spiritual yogic experience. All this is showing the path where you have to go upwards. Enough guidance is there. We can read the next paragraph.
Go to the next paragraph.
Now, Swami is speaking that all this is available to man and he can do it. But is it very easily available? So Swami is saying not so easily available because those dark portions below, the density of the darkness of matter, the density of the and the perversions of the vital, the limitations of the mind are all there. So they are all the time pulling you downwards. The tamasic principle of not wanting change easily. It's an interesting thing we will discuss. For spiritual life, tamas is very negative. It doesn't allow you to go up. It is pulling you down all the time. Does it have a purpose in existence? Yes. So that's what we will see. It's very interesting. But the human race is still weighted by a certain gravitation towards the physical. Gravitation is only downwards, not upwards. So, certain gravitation towards the physical. It obeys still the pull of our yet unconquered earth matter. It is dominated by brain-mind, the physical intelligence. We have seen that there are three intelligences: physical intelligence, vital intelligence, mental intelligence. So the physical mind is pulling you down. Thus held back by many ties, it hesitates before the indication or what is the indication? He has told us. Spirituality, religion, occult experience, all these are the indications. Before the indication or fall back before the too tense demand of the spiritual effort. So spiritual effort is difficult. So they say very clearly. It has too still a great capacity for skeptical folly. Now, that's an interesting phrase. Skeptical folly means the insistence on not believing what I cannot see. I will believe only what I can see. I doubt what I can't see is real or not, I doubt. So that's a skeptical folly. Okay, so an immense indolence. Indolence, laziness, lack of action, lack of wanting progress, an enormous intellectual and spiritual timidity and conservatism. This is there in all human beings. When there is a challenge to be taken and you are not sure that you are going to succeed, there is very often 90% of the time people will say, not worth the risk. If I take the risk and I fail, I will lose what I have also now. It is better to be where I am. So this is the spiritual timidity and conservatism. I want to remain where I am. When called out of the grooves of habit. So what you are habituated to? Comfortable. This is enough for me. Don't want to go beyond. Even the constant evidence of life itself, that where it chooses to conquer, it can conquer. You can see that. Man is conquering what was impossible before. He has invented the mobile, he has invented the X-rays, he has invented air travel, which seemed impossible before. And he is going to the moon, which was unthinkable before. So what you want to do, you can achieve. So why not the same in spiritual field? But still there is hesitation. That's what Chandra is saying. Okay, so even the constant evidence of life itself, that where it chooses to conquer, it can conquer. Okay, witness the miracles of that quite inferior powers, physical science. So they are saying, look at science. It is doing miraculous things. You can also do miraculous things in the spiritual field. Does not prevent it from doubting. It repels the new call and leaves the response to a few individuals. But that is not enough if the step forward is to be for humanity. For it's only if the race advances, not individuals, that for it the victories of the spirit can be secure. This he has said many times before, that a whole collectivity has to be transformed. Otherwise it doesn't have the strength to go up. Again the power of numbers. When one person, that's why unionization takes place in industry. If one worker wants to change, nothing will happen. But if all the workers unite and become one, they can force the management to change things. So numbers increase the power. So, take one stick, I can break it easily. That same stick multiplied tenfold, I'll find it much more difficult to break. So quantity increases the power to a certain extent. Same thing here also. Okay, so it's not enough to step forward, but that is not enough to. It does not prevent it from doubting. It repels the new call and leaves the response to a few individuals. But that is not enough if the step forward is to be for humanity. For it's only if the race advances that for it the victories of the spirit can be secured. The race has to be changed. For then, even if there is a lapse of nature, a fall in her effort, the spirit within, employing a secret memory, sometimes represented on the lower side, that of downward gravitation, as an atavistic force in the race, but really a force or a persistent. Is this what I have to read? Yeah.
You're okay.
Yes, it is the same thing, yeah. Sometimes my computer jumps, that's why I'm asking. So, I read this again. But that is not enough if the step forward is to be for humanity and not only a few individuals. For it's only if the race advances. Srivda often uses the race in the sense of collective humanity, collectives, societies, associations, okay? So, advances that for it the victories of the spirit can be secured. For then, even if there is a lapse of nature, a fall in her effort, the spirit within, employing a secret memory, sometimes represented on the lower side,
that of downward gravitation as an atavistic force in the race, but really the force of a persistent memory in nature which can pull us either upward or downward. We'll call it upward again, and the next ascent will be both easier and more lasting because of the past endeavor. For that endeavor and its impulse and its result cannot but remain stored in the subconscious mind of humanity. What Srindra is saying here is very interesting. He is saying, suppose I make a certain effort and I fail. Do I have to start again from square one? The Srindra is saying no. You have gone up 1 inch. You have gone up. It is retained in the past. And he is talking of a collective memory. Okay? So it's very interesting. There is a collective memory. Take, for instance, very easily the Vedas. Okay? Now, in those days, all that work was done, but today nobody understands the Vedas at all. Nobody. Fully, nobody. Even Srindra has done only Rig Veda, and that also he has translated into only 2/3. Okay? Others have tried also. Dayanand Saraswati has tried. Okay? Many others have also tried. But the memory that it is something fantastic is there, lingering still. Okay? So the collective memory is something very interesting which remains. It is very, very closely parallel to heredity. What your parents have achieved is not completely lost on you. Some of it is given to you. Not everything. And you contribute your own energy from your past life also. So your parents are giving something, that's heredity. So heredity is also a sort of subconscious memory. That's what I'm speaking about. You don't have to, it's not like snakes and ladders where you go right up to the top and then you lose everything and come down. So whatever you have gained, you retain. It's not like some games where you can win 2 sets in tennis and you have to win only 1 more set. But from there you can lose. Okay? So it's not like that in spiritual life. Once what you have gained, it remains with you and is your base. That's what is particular. Very interesting. The example of tennis is very interesting. Okay? I have to win 3 sets. So I have won 2 sets and I am on a match point on the 3rd set. I have only 1 point to gain. But from there I can lose. So is it like that in spiritual life also? So they're saying no. It's not like that. You may fail once, but that remains. And the next attempt you will be able to get through. Okay, so who can say, Srila is saying, who can say what victories of the kind may have been achieved in our past cycles and how near may be the next ascension. See, we have also the faint memory of the Atlantis. So we know that it was a very highly developed civilization, but it just went under the sea. Have we lost that entirely? So they say no, it is retained in the collective memory. And that helps you go to the next level. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Who can say what victories of the kind may have been achieved in our past cycles and how near may be the next ascension? It is not indeed necessary or possible that the whole race should transform itself from mental to spiritual beings. That idea is not necessary to entertain that idea. But a general admission of the ideal, a widespread endeavor, a conscious concentration are needed to carry the stream of tendency to its definitive achievement. Otherwise, what will be ultimately accomplished is an achievement by few, initiating a new order of beings, while humanity will have passed sentence of unfitness on itself and may fall back into an evolutionary decline or a stationary immobility. For it is a constant upward effort that has kept humanity alive and maintained for it its place in the front of creation. So, I read the summary.
Yeah.
W is the last, no?
Yeah.
So, I'll read the summary. What are the difficulties preventing the upward and inward journey? The gravitational force of matter is immense. Okay. Now, one interesting thing. Let us note that this downward pull, it is this downward pull that ensures stability of forms and ensures that a too fast and unprepared evolution does not occur, which, if allowed, could be disastrous. Each step of the way has to be prepared, secured, concretized before the next can be attempted. There is a very interesting point, and we have to see why evolution is so slow. Because every point has to be perfect. If you achieve 80% success, okay, then you can start operating. Okay. Why are there so many accidents in air travel? Because some defect has come up somewhere, and now you have to concentrate and eliminate that defect. So to eliminate all the defects in the spiritual field takes a little time. And that is the work of Maha Saraswati. Her work is intense and intentionally slow, so that there is perfection at each level. If you rise too early, you will fall. That's what Srimad is pointing out here. Okay, so each step of the way has to be prepared, secured, concretized before the next can be attempted. Man is weighted down by the petty needs of the body, the excessive demands of the desire vital, the severe limitations of the normal brain mind. The mind of man has doubt, unreasonable hesitation, foolishness, fear of the unknown future, unwillingness to go beyond the normal comfort zone. These are the difficulties of spiritual life. In spite of the fact that the insistent will always triumphs, look at the miracles wrought by science, that very inferior power. The human mind merely succumbs in the face of seemingly formidable obstacles. So, it leaves the greatest effort to the elite individuals, itself remaining static in its indolence. But the next general, widespread step of evolution can be successfully taken only if a large portion of humanity climbs to new heights and answers to the spiritual challenging call. Otherwise, the status quo would be prolonged unless an active retrogression takes place. That also is possible. A fall back. It has happened many times. From the Vedic times, India completely lost the Atlantis. It rose to such a level, it fell back. In fact, they say 6 times it has happened. Now the 7th time should be a success, and the supermental is descended. So let's see what happens. Okay. Let us note that no effort by man is wasted. It is recorded in the race memory and the universal subconscious, and it always aids the next attempt. Who can say that there have been no great spiritual attempts in the past? Of course, all failures are recorded, but failures are only semi-successful attempts. Failures have been there, but each failure is a stepping stone to the next level. That's what he's saying.
Thank you, Ranga. Namaste all.